Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison, and I want to welcome you to day 99 of Humanity Rising. Ubiquity University and well over 300 partnering organizations from all over the world have been convening almost continuously since the 22nd of May to create an open space between 5 o'clock and 6:30 p.m. Central European time, so that people from all over the world can come together and share their experiences of how they're navigating through this extraordinary pandemic that has put us all under some form of lockdown, engaging in social distancing, and becoming acutely aware of our health and well-being and the future of the world. 6 months in, the pandemic is now increasing all over the world at different levels of intensity in Asia and Africa, Latin America, North America, Europe. I'm in Paris, France, and France has been one of the highest COVID rises in Europe over the last several weeks. So all of us are going through it. And all of us are therefore in a seminal conversation about how we can come together in a manner that will ensure that the world beyond the pandemic is more sustainable and resilient and abundant and healthy and in alignment with the natural systems. Today is a special day. It's the equinox, the fall equinox. It's International Peace Day. It's the day when the United Nations and countries and peoples and communities and organizations all over the world take a moment to rededicate themselves to perhaps the most important and tragically rare virtue in the world today, and that is peace. And not just peace in terms of war, but peace in terms of health, peace in terms of economic well-being, peace in terms of race relations, peace in terms of social justice, peace in terms of the earth. We're very, very excited with today's program because we're going to have young people from around the world reporting through Humanity Rising on some activities in which they've been engaged out of a partnership with City Transformers and Humanity Rising. So I just want to take a special moment to thank Bente Milton and Art Boss from Masterpiece and all the young people that are going to be talking with us today. The partnerships that have been emerging from Humanity Rising as we just simply offer a sacred space for humanity to come together have been awe-inspiring and fill me with more optimism than I think I've ever had. And it may seem like the world is getting worse and worse and worse, and it is. But the world is also getting better and better and better because of what we are doing. And as Lester Brown has said so eloquently and concisely, the world is getting worse and worse and better, faster and faster. We're in a race of tipping points. And Humanity Rising and City Transformers and Masterpiece and hundreds and thousands and millions of organizations and tens and hundreds of millions of people from around the world are getting better and better, faster and faster. And it's in that spirit that we've convened Humanity Rising. So welcome, everyone. I thank you for joining us. And now I'd love to introduce you to my good friend and co-moderator, Sabine van Gafka from Sweden, who will introduce our program.
Thank you very much, Jim. And thank you, Jim, for yet reminding everybody, all of the wonderful souls who join us each day and each day out and in, and all of the other collaborators around the world who are all providing, like Humanity Rising, this platform, this catalyst, not only for change, but a catalyst for really uniting the opportunity to create collaboration that really can make a difference, because it is that collaborative world that we're also trying to create now, so that nodes of networks come together in a fruition to do good. And yes, today is such an important day, International Peace Day. And like so many wise souls have said, the only way to find lasting peace is to find it within. From our inner sense of peace is how we can expand it out to outer sense of peace. And to quote the Dalai Lama on a day like this, is that world peace must develop from inner peace, because peace is not just the mere absence of violence. Peace is the manifestation of human compassion. And we often talk about the importance of changing, or let's say upgrading, the narrative that we currently have. Words, our way of communicating. And I just wanted to seize this opportunity to also emphasize that again, because it really is through non-violent communication and our way to really be coherent with this and understand it, that we can also start to pave the path towards a more peaceful world. And non-violent communication was an approach that was already developed back in the 60s, I think it was, by Marshall Rosenberg. And just in a short sort of summary of the theory, it supposes that all human behavior stems from attempts to meet universal human needs, and that these needs are really never in conflict. Rather, conflict arises when strategies for meeting the needs clash, when we don't have the words or the communication or the circumstances to really surface those needs. And it also resonates a lot with the author, humanitarian, and social scientist that we had last Friday, Riane Eisler, who has such a wealth of knowledge, and who also through her work has shown evidence that caring is a humanity default tendency, that we can build humane and sustainable societies, from moving from a society of domination, which we're currently in, to a society of partnership, which we're hopefully currently heading or steering towards. And also I want to mention, because we talk a lot about love and compassion, these words that are words of a state of being, but also a state of doing and action. And it's easy to maybe forget, and hopefully it will become more easier to remember, that these love and compassion and even kindness are necessities. They're not luxuries that just happen once in a while in our daily life. They are a necessity for the survival of humanity and our planet. So I think it's important for us to really remember and contemplate on that. And as Jim mentioned, today we're here to celebrate, endorse, and also highlight World Peace Day. Each year on the 21st of September, the UN General Assembly has declared that this is a day of strengthening the ideals of peace, humanity, of unity, and also observing 24 hours that will hopefully expand to every day of the year of non-violence and ceasefire. And also, Jim said, the coronavirus, the pandemic has, it's shedded another dimension to Peace Day, not least. For this is the first time in history where people, or humanity, everyone all over the world, were gathered around a common problem, threat, and strategy, pandemic, whatever we want to call it. But we're also having the same concerns about how we rebuild our world beyond this pandemic. And today is also an extraordinary day, because we're going to meet an amazing assembly of youth leaders, because many youth leaders have gathered around the world this week to convey, or to really take counsel and look at how can we turn the crisis of the pandemic into an opportunity for global renewal and unity. And also to look at the question, how can we meet the needs of all, but within the means of our planet? And the conclusion from the assembly of these youth leaders is going to be handed over to the UN today. And that conclusion will hopefully be a consideration of how we gather forward. So soon we will be meeting an assembly of these youth leaders who are joining us on Humanity Rising, to each and every one of them tell us about what they've been working on and where these peace talks are leading. But before we do that, I think we should all align in unity and really reflect upon peace within ourselves, and also the meaning of peace in our outer world, with a 1-minute heart coherence to music in the background. Richard, if you could put on the music, and just put our hands on our heart, and just with a few breaths, let's just breathe in a heart coherence and align with our inner peace. With or without music, we inhale and just exhale. Just allowing us to arrive here and now. Just with the sensation of our breaths, allowing us to feel the emotion of the feeling of peace. Feel the gratitude. The love of humanity. And that it is in unity we find peace. Thank you so much for joining in that 1-minute heart course. And now I hand the space to Matt Robertson and this amazing panel of youth leaders.
Thank you so much, Jim and Sabina. I just wanted to say a special thank you to you both for your opening remarks. I recently rewatched the incredibly inspiring opening day of Humanity Rising, and the ability for you both to every day keep us connected with the spirit of our gathering together in this way has been inspiring to me. So thank you so much. Our ability to answer the call successfully for what humanity is requiring from us in this time. And it's an honor for me to be here today. My name is Matt Robertson. I'm the executive assistant at Ubiquity University in the president's office. And it's my pleasure to co-moderate this session today with Raji Jayasinghe. It does look like my video's not working. I hope our host can help us out, but I will continue.
I'm working on it, Matt. I'll get it up.
No worries, I'll continue with the introduction. So the Next Gen team is excited to host City Transformers today and the Global Youth Assembly to hear from young leaders from around the globe on solutions that have been inspired by the donut economics model that they are, as previously mentioned, delivering to the United Nations today in a fantastic, very exciting process that Raji Jai Singha will explain a little bit more in addition to our youth delegates. But the Next Gen team here at Ubiquity University really is focused on helping empower young leaders around the world in actualizing their vision of the future. We won't share our mission statement today, but we do have one. And we invite everyone here, whether you identify as a Next Gen leader or an ally, to join us in our collective work on the UBverse platform in each of our lives and various missions in the Next Gen Leadership Forum. And I will put that link in the chat here before too long after I finish the introduction, but it's an open forum where people can share all of the interesting things they're doing around the world, and we can support our young leaders in their respective missions. It's fantastic to be here on the International Day of Peace. I wanted to say a special shout out to our brothers and sisters at the Peace Weekend 2020 programming, as well as all of the fantastic presenters and content at the Up Convergence gathering that happened this last week as we celebrate the 75th anniversary of the United Nations. And to echo Jim, what I've noticed over the last 4 months has been an incredible expression of radical collaboration. I've seen so many organizations, companies, individuals who are working on different aspects of what we need to create a more sustainable, thriving, and just world. And what I've noticed recently is that people are starting to come together and figure out, okay, who's doing what? We're no longer reinventing the same wheel, but there's a new level of organization and coherence that is allowing people to say, okay, what can I bring to the table? How do we actually collaborate to transform conversations that matter into actions that really make a difference? And so today we're incredibly excited to be here with City Transformers, who was also represented in the initial Next Gen Week earlier on in the Humanity Rising Summit. They are a group that works to empower urban communities to transform our world. And the Global Youth Assembly has been a collaborative project between City Transformers, Master Peace, as mentioned, the Hague Center, ISIC, and many other organizations who have come together to put on this incredible event that has taken place over the last couple of days and of which we'll hear about now. The last two things that I wanted to mention before I hand it over to Raji is that in trying to describe the part of the process that we're in now, it reminds me of putting together a puzzle. Each one of us, a piece to this puzzle that can contribute to the overall picture of a better world. However, we don't have the end picture to look at and help guide us as we work to figure out how these puzzle pieces fit together. The way that we're figuring it out is through our open hearts, our intuition, and our willingness to be vulnerable and connect and collaborate. And that through this process of intuition and collective intelligence, that bigger picture, the bigger puzzle picture is beginning to emerge. Recently, we had a session with Europa University where we talked about the notion of warriorship, but not in the sense of aggression or violence, but warriorship in the sense of having the courage to face reality as it is with vulnerability, with an open heart, with kindness and compassion. It's that kind of warriorship that I feel is required in this time. And it reminds me of a great book that I read previously called The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, around the practice of how can we practice peaceful warriorship by standing up for our beliefs, our impulses, our open heart, and our compassion in our everyday relationships. And I'm not sure that there's another group out there that represents to me this notion of a peaceful warrior, other than, of course, our Next Gen team and the Global Youth Assembly here today. So I'll pass it over to Raji now to say a few words on the Global Youth Assembly itself. And then we will move into hearing directly from our youth delegates from all around the world about the solutions that they've generated over this last weekend and what the process was like as they present that plan to the United Nations today. So thank you so much for being here. And Raji, I'll pass it over to you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Matt. Thanks for the intro and for your thoughts. Hello, everyone out there. It's wonderful to be here with you. I'm very excited, actually, to set the framework a little bit, for the rest of this panel. I won't spend too much time because I would like to give as much highlight to our panelists. But let me just say that the Global Youth Assembly has since 2004 been bringing outstanding, exceptional youth from around the world to explore innovative solutions to the world's most pressing challenges. Now, today in September 2020, September 21st, 2020, I think we can all agree that we are facing challenges of a scale and urgency that we've never felt before. And that's why things like the Global Youth Assembly, in the spirit of radical collaboration, are really going to help drive humanity towards the solutions that we need. This event brings youth together from over 100 cities in 6 countries around the world just this year. And the event took place from September 19th, which is when it began, the purpose of which is to foster dialogue and generate partnerships between youth, between high UN officials, between the private sector and civil society. And so we're going to hear from our panelists today on the findings and the innovative solutions that they came up with during these interactions. And if I'm not mistaken, they in fact sailed to the UN to present these findings, which sounds like quite the experience in and of itself. I think what's most important about this is to mention the fact that all these dialogues, all these discussions, all this collaboration is really about taking action now. It's about making a difference now. And that's why we're really, really proud to have a representation really of the most outstanding youth in the world. So thank you all for being here. I hope that sets the stage just a little bit. And I will hand back to Matt now to introduce our first speaker, who I think will give you a much more detailed picture of the work that we're going to learn about today. So thank you very much, and over to you again, Matt.
Thanks so much, Raji, and I will keep this brief so that we can jump in with our delegates here. We're very fortunate to hear from 8 delegates today that participated in the Global Youth Assembly that will share different perspectives. They participated in different ways, carrying different functions, and we'll get to hear from a variety of different perspectives to talk about different aspects of the project. Again, I would like to remind our audience that if you have any questions for our panelist members, please include them in the question and answer function of the webinar, and we'll do our best to save some time at the end to see if we can get some questions and answers in. I also hope to share a video of some of the highlights later on in the session, so just to preview that as well. At this point, I would like to hand it over to Ragda Al-Halwani to give us an overview of the Global Youth Assembly from Masterpiece. Ragda, thank you so much for being here with us today, and over to you.
Thanks, Matt, and definitely thanks for the introduction. And I think an information that probably even Jim does not know, that the collaboration or the whole event actually started from this chat box in the Humanity Rising a couple of months ago, when Binta Melton, which you already mentioned, from City Transformers, and Masterpiece through our global leader, Art Boss, met and exchanged and said, let's do something together. So that all manifested in that sense. So definitely it was a unique experience, and we feel still overwhelmed by it. And I'm so happy to be again reunited with my fellow hosts and moderators and speakers, and you will hear all from them. I think with the Peace Day 2020 Youth Assembly, the significance of the event is that it really came together in almost 2 weeks. Many of the partners, we never worked with each other before, but since the momentum of that, not only the pandemic with all the difficulties and challenges it brought, but also the perspective of possible opportunities and unlikely partnerships. To give an overview of the summit and why personally, not only on a professional level, but also personally, I feel very connected to the event. I'm from Egypt myself, and I always felt that, especially in that part of the world, we're not invited to where the decision making are made, or where decision makers have tables to sit there as a youngster, but also from that part of the world. But the event, the Peace Day 2020th Assembly is actually to hand over this responsibility to global young leaders from around the world to come together to think and brainstorm about the most pressing issues that we have. And I will invite in a bit my colleague Maria to actually explain the framework a bit, but it's a global opportunity for young leaders to come together, to discuss, to brainstorm, to put their ideas and dreams, but also their worries on the table, come up with recommendations that is handed over to the United Nations. So that is in summary, the notion of the event. And in less than 2 weeks, we actually came together more than 5 organizations to work together to make this event a reality. And we invited youngsters from around the world to join in. So as you mentioned, Raji, we almost had 100 delegates representing 96 cities and more than 60 countries around the world over sunrise to sunset. So they were really spread across 4 time zones, 16 virtual tables, full of, almost 24 hours of exchange and ideas to bring a harvest, which is actually was delivered to the United Nations on a Viking ship this morning, and we saw just a few pictures as we speak right now that's from that event. So that is the overview, and actually it was mind-blowing, the conversations as we joined some of the sessions, of the energy and the ideas that came from the young, but also a lot of wisdom from working with grassroots, which is something that we in Masterpiece believe in. And as it's the International Day of Peace, as we celebrate, and we have this motto that we believe that the world is about 7 billion opportunities, 7 billion talents, and not 7 billion issues. And it was very much what we felt in the Youth Assembly. We made a structure for the discussions, which was very appealing to the youngsters. So this is also shows the level of maturity and really globally seeking solutions, where we use the donut economy. Probably some of you are familiar with it. It's a framework to actually meet the needs of all of us within the limitations of the planet. And Maria, my colleague, will actually explain a little bit about that framework, but it helped to shape the conclusions and outcomes of the discussions into an actual donut, nevertheless. So I hand it over to you, Maria, to just showcase the donut economic model.
Thank you so much, Rachta, for giving an introduction and for explaining what the Youth Assembly looked like. It was indeed so really inspiring. We gathered 96 representatives all together who shared their vision and their solutions, their actionable suggestions to decision makers and stakeholders around the world. There were a lot of ideas and a lot of takeaways, but I think what was most powerful about the event is that we had indeed the framework. So if we're talking about the global crisis right now, how can we turn this into an opportunity? What can we do about it? What kind of action can we take in our communities as young people? I'll just share my screen here briefly to give you a little bit of an insight into the donut model itself, which, as Rachta said, asks the question, how can we meet the needs of the planet within its own boundaries. So if we want to create a space that is environmentally safe and socially just, in which humanity can thrive, how can we do that while taking the boundaries, both ecological and social, into account? So we distributed our young delegates into 4 sessions across time zones. And in each of the time zones, there were 4 different tables that took a slice of the donut, so to speak, so as to make the conversations, again, as focused, as sharp, as actionable as possible. Each of the 4 tables talked about whether a global community should be healthy or connected, enabled or empowered. And if so, delving deeper into topics within each of these 4 sections. If we talk about a healthy global community, the topics of food, of water, of health, of housing are so extremely relevant, but the viewpoints from all around the world, from Asia, from 6 different continents, are very different. The perspectives of each and every young person are really different. We need to bring them all onto the table. Connectedness, a sense of community, mobility, culture, being enabled, education, income. How do we see it from our personal viewpoint, and how does that relate to other young people around the world? Being empowered, social equity, having a political voice. These are the topics that young people had an opportunity to delve deeper into with their peers around the world. I'm really, really happy to now hand it over to the young people themselves. We have a few moderators who were facilitating the discussions, and we have a few delegates here, and I'm really, really eager to learn about their experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria and Ragda. Thank you so much for that. And I think now is the time to move on and hear from each of our panelists. And so the first person on our list for the day is Shweta, who, as I understand, represents the Youth Elders Alliance. So we're really looking forward to hearing a little bit about you, Shweta, and about the work that you've done for this movement. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Raji. And I'm really excited to be here. And I'm still resonating actually from the energy and the inspiration from our Saturday event. My name is Shweta. I am based in Utrecht, and I am with the Hague Center for Governance, Innovation and Emergence. And one of the aspects that we brought to the assembly was that we invited some world leaders to be keynote listeners. So we had, for example, Erwin Laszlo, Benzion Weiss, Elizabeth Sattouris, Jean Houston, David Woolcombe, Evan Mattison, Sushma Sharma, Ambassador Musi Hailu, Marilyn Hamilton, and also Jim Garrison, who's here. And as most of these leaders are usually often in the role of keynote speakers, we are really thankful to all of them for embracing the role of being a listener and really sharing their commitment to support the youth delegates. And as we go along in this journey, what we want to do is really step into a co-creative role, bringing all these generations together, which is also a vision actually that emerged from the youth at the assembly, where they're calling for startups that facilitate spaces for youth and elders to have intergenerational dialogues regarding the new world that we live in. And to create this sort of a youth elders alliance that's based on learning together. And the youth delegates are really leading in this by the shift in their worldviews that they bring, and the holistic understanding that came forth in so many of the conversations on Saturday. So like Maria was sharing, a lot of the conversations really sort of focused on the interconnections between all those different aspects of the donut, and really looking at how do we bring together, create a world that is for all within the boundaries of the planet. And I would just like to quote Erwin here. He said in the assembly, "The hold of the old is loosening. We have to start thinking holistically. It's this thinking that is coming to fore here. His call is for the leaders of the world to start listening to the young people, in their communities and the world, and be informed followers of the new ideas, the feelings and intuitions that are emerging from the youth. And since it's Peace Day, I would also like to share a message from Elizabeth Sartorius that she sent to the youth delegates. Do not waste energy fighting the existing system. Just join all those building the alternatives. If one generation simply stops all hostility against each other, warfare and racism and nature, everything will shift dramatically and enormous resources will be freed. And all of this reminds me again of the vision that Buckminster Fuller had, and which is one of the core visions that guides city transformers, is to make the world work for 100% of humanity in the shortest possible time through spontaneous cooperation without ecological offense or the disadvantage to anyone. And what I learned personally from the assembly is that there is so much that the young delegates are doing in their local contexts, and how they are so rooted, as well as have this global connection, and they're already sort of well beyond the fragmented systems that we are stuck in. And what we can do as, in supporting this is to make it visible, not just their voices, which is what was the first step of this going to the UN, but also making visible the work that they're already doing. And as partners in this process, this is what our sort of mission is, to hold this space and connect the vision and work of the youth and support them in thinking, being, and doing as humanity. So thank you so much. It's an open invitation to everyone to join in. And yeah, as we go forward in this process. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shweta. One of the most inspiring things that just came up for me is that you said if one generation can cease all hostility, that there's hope for global peace. And I believe that our generation, the young generation coming of age in today's world, has the hope and the tool set, the skill set, the mindset to do that. Having been born as one of the most interconnected generations that's ever existed, I'm hopeful that that interconnection has bestowed us with the empathy, the understanding, the tolerance, and the patience in order to actually achieve that. And I do believe that that is somewhat of the fate of this generation. So thank you so much for sharing that wisdom. We'd now like to move to Julian Baller, who is one of the organizers of the Peace Caravan movement, the Caravans of Unity, specifically in Europe, as well as a number of other projects. So Julian, thanks so much for joining us here today. And over to you to talk about your experience here with the Global Youth Assembly, the Peace Caravans, and more. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So my connection to the Youth Assembly started pretty early on in the planning of the planning, when I was together with an amazing team preparing the European leg of the Caravan of Unity, in very close cooperation to the Hague Center and Annemarie Verhoeven. Also been very active in setting the Youth Assembly up. And the Caravans of Unity were created as part of the Ramping Up to Peace Weekend program, as a 3 weeks tour to really activate change makers from all over the world. And in this first year of the Caravans of Unity, already 3 caravans have been manifesting. One in the US, going from the East Coast to the West Coast, one in Europe, going all over the continent, and one in Brazil. And I just want to talk a little bit more about the one in Europe that me and the team was holding and facilitating. Because this caravan was really designed from the beginning to redesign traveling in an age where many of us are locally bonded to one place, bringing the experience of traveling to people and working with traveling energy, with the energy of peace and unity and an evolving consciousness. So we've very much an image that was on the ground of this creation was a network of light that is shining up wherever it is, wherever people step up with their talent and their wisdom to bring this energy of peace and unity into the world. So the Caravan of Unity in Europe ran under the headline, The Many Dimensions of Peace in Spirit, Art, Dialogue and Action. And we've been reaching out through Co-Creating Europe and and many friends and affiliated networks to ask people to contribute with actions and contributions in spirit, art, dialogue, and action, and really take us on a daily journey with different series focusing on spiritual practice, embodiment, communities, contributions, also more intellectual presentations to really show their contribution to sustainable peacemaking. And this was an incredible journey and experience that really made, I think, everyone who joined really sense and experience the co-creative manifestation of a field out of which potential solution for the can manifest. And it was always important for us to have the voice of youth very, very present. And I knew a little bit about the preparation for the youth assembly and came actually back to join the team at a quite late point in time last week. And I was overwhelmed by what has been created so shortly. So I think there's really a beauty in this, also in this process, that we are all bringing our different parts to the puzzle, and the youth assembly was created in such an impactful way. And what I was really taking from the Caravans of Unity was the field, this field that seems to be prepared by so many people. And then stepping into use and see touch with all the other delegates, I realized, wow, here it is already, and it's global. It seems that people in my generation and even younger ones seem to have an inherent understatement of the interconnectedness of everything, of the current meta crisis, and really clear ideas how to use it as a catalyzer for transformative change. And I was lucky to tap into into a few different conversations. And what was striking me were two things: the alignment and the clarity. Because of course, the opinions and the stories and the approaches were really, really diverse, but there was an underlying thread connecting all of them in what I have been experienced. And this is really, in all the diversity, a few very basic things like cooperation, solidarity, equality, justice, fair distributions. So what was clear, really became obvious to me is we are not asking for wonders or magic. We're asking for putting what is already there into place and apply it on all levels, locally and globally. And this is what I think what was very, very strong in the field. So I think this generation is really ready to do what Elizabeth Sartoros was asking or suggesting, because it felt many of us are already there. So one solution I could see is really handing over more responsibility to the young, take the responsibility to co-create our future, because there is an incredible wisdom and understatement that is already in place.
Thank you so much, Julian. I really appreciate those words. And for me, what really stood out and made me feel a sense of optimism really is when you said that, you know, everyone you spoke to there had an inherent understanding of the interconnectedness that exists in this world, and that no matter where they were from, everyone kind of was well aligned and was very clear about the need for change and for sustainable change. So thank you, Julian, for your words. And let's move on now to the next speaker, who I believe is Emily, who will speak to us about her experiences. Over to you, Emily.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hey, I am Emily. I am a 16-year-old boy. I'm from Finland, but I am currently living in Denmark. I'm representing CIS for the youth delegates, and just the Copenhagen International School. And that's actually where my humanities teacher told me about this, and it seemed very interesting. And I'm now very glad that I took this opportunity to get to do all of this stuff with all these people from all over the globe, and having that possibility. So things kind of just moved on from there, and it all went to last Saturday, which is where we talked all about the donut, the 4 different groups, and shared ideas and visions of our own, like our futures that us, the youth, really want to see happen in the future. And it was a very interesting experience, and having that voice for the future is just an amazing thing. And after Saturday was over, we went to last Sunday. We went to the Youth Island, which is where most things happened with me and stuff. We had a group of around 12 people, and around 8 of us were the youth delegates. We were going through all of the commitments from all the groups, from all of the time zones, and coming up with the final version that was handed to UN earlier today. And in the Youth Island, we had a room which we called the Peace Room, and it was a lot of fun having the collaboration between diverse people from different nationalities, and having that interesting experience. And it was a lot of work, but we eventually got up with everything, and got to explore the Youth Island a bit as well on the side. Now to today, earlier, we went with the Viking ship back to the Youth Island, where some of the other people had stayed for the night, and we had they were like very excited to see the Viking ship. It was very old, very cool, historical, and symbolic meaning. Now the Viking ship and us arrived there, and then a little bit later we all left. I was in the Viking ship with 2 others, one from Masterpiece, and one other who handed over those final commitments to the UN. And there we went to the UN city, handed those over, and that's pretty much it for me. It was, for me, the whole experience was very interesting, having all nationalities all around the globe, having that collaboration between other people, and just having that peace with no hostility. And just for me, it's important for me to have that voice for the future, and being that front line of youths, and being here and being representing all of youths, and it's important for us to have voice as well. Thank you, everyone. I will hand it over from here.
Thank you so much, Emily, for sharing. It sounds just like an incredible experience, this last weekend and beyond. As you were speaking, I recalled an experience that I had when I was about 15 years old, attending one of my first meditation retreats. And I remember thinking that, of course, this makes sense. Everyone should learn this. And I think that there's something powerful about the youth perspective, where as we get older, the basic ideas, concepts, and understanding of our life as adults, may or may not change along with the world. And so there's something refreshing about, the next generations of youth who come in, who seem to have a more natural connection to common sense and the basic things that feel right. And so coming together on Youth Island, the incredible experience with the Viking ship, being able to experiment with these things that feel innately correct, but aren't necessarily institutionalized in our world, I think is such important work right now. So Emily, thank you so much for your contributions to that process and sharing your experience with us today. And as we move into hearing from more of our participants, I definitely would love to hear some of the solutions that you came up with that you're inspired by, along with other aspects of your experience. So at this point, we would like to move to Philip Brindham, who is a participant in the Global Youth Assembly. So Philip, thank you so much for being here with us today and sharing your experience with us. Over to you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Philip. I am representing ISEC in Denmark as National Product Manager. And I had the sheer pleasure and honor to take part as a delegate throughout this weekend, both online during the European calling section and at the live event at the Youth Island. And I just got home a couple hours ago from the live event with the honoration of the document that we created over the weekend at the UN city in Copenhagen, and it is just starting to hit me what I've actually taken part in over this weekend. We started off hundreds of people from 96 different cities across the world, combining ideas, discussions, and motivation for what this actually means and for what this can actually transpire to. And I had the honor of taking part with 7 other youth leaders, delegates, to actually combine this into something tangible, something to implement. And I believe we succeeded in that. I believe we took what we saw this for. We took our own ideas, our values, and actually made it into something that can be of use for this world. And for that, I am immensely grateful. Throughout this day, we initiated it by going through the output, the harvest of all the delegates during the online events, getting a sense of what we actually had to work with in regards to the 4 parts of the donut economics scheme. And from there, we started working through how to actually create some valuable output in this. And we worked on it from around 1 in the afternoon and finished, I believe around 4 o'clock at night to actually make something out of this. And it was after the representative from City Transformers had left the island and we were alone, 7 people now left to actually work on this, that it started to hit us what we actually were dealing with, that we actually had been given a platform and the opportunity to speak not only on behalf of delegates from 96 countries, but on behalf of an entire generation, and that just made it that much more magical. And through that, we worked diligently until we had 10 points to actually bring together and actually make use of that, combine into a document. And I'm very excited for you, for the people that's sitting here today, for the world, for the United Nations to read this. I've been told that it is being processed and prettified in some sense now. So excited to see what becomes of it. I believe, Matt, you asked about our main learnings in this. And while we were working on this, I, with the rest, came to the understanding that though each of these 10 steps, 10 proposals are of use, it was more what it took from each of us to actually get there. It was more the fact that after being provided with a platform, it was the need that we had to create our own framework, our own understanding of how this could actually be implemented, and not necessarily take it from what was being handed to us, or what we were introduced to in terms of how the United Nations had done so before with the 12-step points. We tried to the best that we could to explain this throughout the document, and I hope it worked. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Philip. Appreciate the words. Sounds like a brilliant experience. Next up, we have Jemima, who, Dede, also called, who actually were moderators during this entire assembly. And so I'd be interested to hear from you about what it was like to facilitate these conversations, and what it was like to sort of be in the middle of it all, listening to all this youth and really understanding the issues from every aspect. So, Dede, over to you.
Hello, everyone. I hope that you can hear me because I've been having some internet problems. I am Jemima Derisaki, currently in Algiers, and I was honored to be a moderator for the Youth Assembly. How did it feel? Well, I would say that I was excited, overwhelmed to be in the midst of lively, energetic, idea-filled young people like myself, to collaborate with them, to share our experiences, to share ideas that we have that we feel can move the world forward. But beyond the excitement and all the initial joy, I was also very much aware of the seriousness of the whole program and of the whole topic as it were, because beyond feeling good about meeting and collaborating with other young people like myself, we had to realize that us trying to solve the problems of everyone within the confines of the limitations of the globe is a very important and serious matter. And now the onus lies on us to bring what we have to bear to be able to move the world forward. So there was also that bit of seriousness, that bit of the gravity of the situation bearing on us. But nevertheless, that did not stop us from having a good time as we shared to move things forward. So I moderated the breakout session on building a connected global community. And we came to the agreement that a connected global community would look like an inclusive society where young people with a shared purpose were free to contribute everything that they had without barriers hindering them from being together in this space, as it were. And 1 second. Yes, one speaker mentioned earlier that 7 billion people is equal to 7 billion talents and gifts. And we came to realize that as young people and everyone else in the world, we all have these innate abilities, ideas, gifts that we have to share with the world. So us having the freedom to come out and share what we have with others, beyond overlooking race, overlooking sex, overlooking religion, and all of that, was a great way to move things forward. So I was really honored, excited, glad, and to be a moderator and to be a part of this whole journey, and looking forward to more exciting programs like these. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jemima, for your presentation and your sharing. One of the things that stuck out to me was you mentioning this dichotomy between the seriousness of the gathering, but also the excitement and the inspiration of it. And in my own experience, I've noticed that it's so important to understand the gravity of the situation, because it's from engaging with the seriousness, the critical essence of this time at what's really at stake, that actually not only breaks me down, but helps me break through to that inspiration. So it's something that I echo with your experience, with being willing to face the seriousness and the scariness, the fear that comes with everything that we're dealing with right now, that we might not make it. To seriously consider that feels like such an important part of this process, to galvanize, to fuel the creativity that is needed to come up with these solutions. So thank you so much, Jemima. And now we'll move to our final panelist and presenter. Also, of course, a participant in the Global Youth Assembly. So Anesha, please join us on stage now. Thank you so much for being here. And we look forward to hearing about your experience in the Global Youth Assembly.
Thank you very much, Matt. I'm Anisha Gupta from Calcutta, West Bengal, India. I'm an advocate, I'm a peace ambassador, and a criminologist. So I was very much excited about the Global Youth Assembly meeting, which I moderated. And from there, I got many different information that is helping towards my work to bring peace. What I discovered that if we don't have inner peace, then we cannot bring any changes. So we need to focus on ourselves first, because due to childhood upbringing problem, violence grows within us. And when that crosses the boundary of our home, our family, that became a societal problem, and from that violence became an international trouble. From the harvest, I found that the young generation want to work together as one human race. They are thinking that nowadays people think about themselves isolately, but they don't want to think isolately. They want to think for the whole society, for the greater good of the society. So we need to respect and find out the similarities between people, different understandings, and different cultures. We have the changing power. Just we need support from our leaders, our parents, governments, everywhere, so that we can get the inner peace. We don't have to think about ourselves very much, and we can focus to bring good for the society. We need to deal in a balanced way with the nature, because within a fraction of a second, nature can destroy us. Enhancing through the capacity of quality education is a nice way to bring changes. So we need to provide not just education and quality education. We need to stop conflict. We need to stop war. We need peace. We need cooperation. We don't want any kinds of violence. Comparing this with the doglet model, I found that the most important points or parts are empowered and connected, because empowered deals with the peace and justice, social equality, political voice, and equality and diversity. So when we will have all these securities and we will be connected properly, then we can think about how to bring proper changes like renewable energy or water treatment, by low cost, because water treatment costs a lot. Quality education for everyone. Many people in our world don't get quality education. So when we will get empowered and connected section properly, then we can innovate for healthy and enabled section. So in this session, I discovered a lot of knowledge about how to remove violence, not only social violence due to social culture, but also the violence that became biological violence by transforming from psychological violence to physical transformation. So that's a real nice event where I participated, and that's all from me. I'm handing over now.
Thanks so much, Anish. I really appreciate the words. And as a teacher myself, I am with you on the need for quality education. I think it really is the backbone, the foundation, the cornerstone, the root of everything good that can come in this world. So at this point, I think all our panelists have given us their initial words. I'd like to invite everyone on the panel now to please turn on your cameras. And I'd like to address a question that was actually asked in the chat by Marcella. And the question was that we'd like to hear a little bit more about the actual and practical 10 ideas. It may have been 10 or more, I'm not sure the exact number, but you know, we've heard about the Viking ship and the proposal being taken over. I'd like to hear a little bit more about the actual practical solutions that you might have come up with or discussed during this assembly. So I'd like to put that out to the panel in general. Please, anyone who feels inspired to speak, go ahead and unmute yourself and answer the question. We can probably take at least 3 answers on this. So Philip, it looks like you're unmuted. I'll hand it over to you, my friend.
Thank you. Yes, this is perhaps more a question to the organizers, but I mean, I have the document that we combined, and can I showcase that here? Would that be okay, or can I take some points out and talk about that? I'm unsure of what the procedure from here actually is to be about, but else I can start off with some pointers that we made.
I think, Philip, this is an exclusive look, actually, what you handed over to the UN. So you guys, the only ones who saw the final product. So it would be great if we can have a sneak into what you handed over this morning. That would be, I think, exciting for all of us.
Excellent. Can I share my screen? Is that doable?
I think you can do that, Philip. Yeah, with the share screen button. I hope it works for you. Perfect.
Excellent. So a quick overview. We made an introduction on behalf of the Global Youth Assembly. And through both working with the 4 parts of the donut economics, we assessed what different points actually made sense for us to talk about, and how and where youth could actually be best utilized, best to take action, and best to take ownership of what would need to happen. So with that, we started with youth engagement, transparency and trust, local empowerment, inclusivity, this incentivization of monopolies, labor, investments into innovation, cooperation to solve the world's issues, global helps, and finishing all off with education, which we still see is the fundamental aspect to all of this, because it's through education that we actually can equip ourselves to erase ignorance and build something from where we are now. The idea was that these would all be circular in a sense, that this would work as a, how to say, these would all be combined and could be repeated throughout this generation and the next, or at least that was the idea we tried to circumvent with this. By then finishing off with concluding remarks, again, I feel the need to bring up that we did finish this quite late in the evening and made a quick few changes in the morning. So you are seeing still the draft of this, but I hope it makes sense. And I'll just stop sharing now, I suppose.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Philip. Very exciting. I know it's fresh out of the oven, as they say. We're catching you right here during the draft, and it's still a work in progress. So thank you so much for sharing some of those nuggets that you've come up with here. I'd like to follow up with a second question. Anyone else is welcome. If you had in your group process, tangible solutions that really excited you, to please share them with us. If there's a few of those things that are representative of your passion. For me, one of the things that I'm really passionate about is the arts and creativity. How can spoken word, rap, hip hop, graffiti, how can these movements actually participate in raising awareness? And how can we gather around those topics? I know that there's talk of a Peace Day cipher that is in the mix a little bit. So hopefully we can get some of our local MCs, but both an answer to that question, if there's solutions that inspire you, I'm curious, what surprised you the most in this process, coming together with people from all around the world? Were there things that you weren't expecting, that you noticed that you really enjoyed or that you found difficult? So I think both of those questions are now on the table for any of our panelists here who would like to answer them on practical solutions and things that may have surprised you throughout the process.
I think I can say a few words about the first part of your question, Matt. So this whole thing about, I was part of one of the discussions in the empowered group in one of the 4 time zones. And what really, not really surprised me, but what really inspired me was that while the donut sectors, when you're talking about empowerment, are about job, income, education, and energy, what the panelists were really talking about was sort of this beautiful conversation around art and culture as the tool for bringing empowerment. And that was really inspirational for me to be thinking beyond, our usual categories of talking about empowerment into saying, how do you get empowered by being inspired? And that was one of the things that really touched me in that in that process. And I think, like what you said, how do we use art and culture to create this awareness and this inspiration and empower people through that? I think that was really beautiful. So I just wanted to share that.
Thanks, Shweta. Beautiful.
I would like to
so
add
I
on
also
one.
wanted to
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to share on the questions that you asked. The points that I think stood out to me the most was the point we raised about transparency, about leaders being transparent with us, because a lack of transparency breeds distrust. And if we do not trust the people that are leading us, we will not feel comfortable sharing with them what we have to give. And I feel like we have so much potential, we have so much initiative, drive, ideas to contribute. So if we do not trust the people leading us, then that will stifle us in sharing. And particularly for me, I'm Ghanaian from Ghana, and there's just so much of sort of shadiness surrounding the leadership or the people leading us in the country, and that just creates a sort of uncomfortable atmosphere for us, the young people in the country, to want to come out and do anything. So I think that point really stayed with me. And then the thing that surprised me, well, I guess not really surprised, but I also noticed was, usually I'm someone that's shy and reserved, and I decided to just put myself out there, and to do this and to experience this. And most of the other people on my group shared the same sentiments, that they were people who usually would not come out to say anything, but they're beginning to work on themselves in that way of coming out and putting away the shyness and putting away the timidity, and even saying that no matter what comes after whatever I do, I'm still going to continue to put myself out there and share my ideas. So that's just what I wanted to share, and thank you very much for the platform.
Thanks so much for sharing.
Matt, I want to share something on this question. This is a part of my life experience, because I'm trying to bring changes. I'm trying to reduce crime or violence from the society by spreading awareness. And I mainly do drawing with a message to make people understand why we need to reduce violence, or how we can deal with the situation to reduce violence or conflict between us, or to mitigate conflicts. And I do some audio and video recording. I record podcast for radio broadcasting. And in this way, we can bring many changes. Also, I do research work, article writing, and publishing. So those who don't want to read, they can go through the audio and visual helps. And those who love to read, they can go through the article. So in this way, we can bring many changes. And about your second question, I would love to say that I got a new experience that young generation is curious about global citizenship or world citizenship. So that's a very interesting point I got. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Anish. That's great. And now over to Julian.
Yeah, I was stunned by, I mean, there were keynote listeners invited, but there were in the panel amongst these 100 just very, very professional listeners. The dialogical competence in the field was, yeah, it was a surprise, and it was absolutely beautiful how capable everybody was to tune in with each other, and to really be in reference to what was shared before, to tune in and to deeply listen, and the willingness to understand each other, which is I think it's usually rare, and it's always a joy to find it. And in this group, it was absolutely present. So that was my great surprise and joy.
Beautiful. Thanks so much for sharing, Julian. Anyone else?
Yeah, I would love to share as well. I think that what was surprising, but it's also very logical, is the setting the intention of the event from the start really brought all these groups together. So in a way, this shared vision that young people should share their voice really worked magic. It's really moved mountains and brought all these teams together to work, and also young participants. It attracted also the right type of audience, this dedicated young change makers from all around the world that joined from their living rooms or the streets, so they were really keen on attending and being part of it. And some of them are actually here as well, watching us through the live stream. I think this setting a vision that is inclusive and that is also authentic to its core, of really open invitation without a judgment or trying to influence an agenda of bringing people. We really tried from the beginning to say, whatever comes up out of this conversation, we will use the donut economy as a model, but not to dedicate or dictate what people would say. And I think this has really worked to bring similar-minded, passionate teams, but also participants. So I think it was very heartwarming to see in action, because we all know that it makes a lot of sense. But I think this is a witness for that notion, and I was surprised, but I also knew that it's possible. So that's a mix of both.
Fantastic. Ragda, thank you so much for sharing. And for all of us here today, it's so inspiring. I know that we've got about 10 minutes left. So as we begin to get ready to close, I just wanted to see if anyone had any final remarks, perhaps around the question that we just asked, or perhaps even about projects that you're excited about moving forward that you would like our audience to know about as we continue to take this work out into the world. So if anyone has just a few brief things to say, we do have some time for that.
Could I share just a thought? I wanted to add that these 96 participants were at the end a selection. About 200 applied, close to 200 young people, and the application file included questions of what is your vision? How would you like to contribute to the Global Youth Assembly? And personally, I was really inspired by the answers and by the awareness of young people who expressed that I want to create a society that is sustainable. I want to include young people who don't have the same opportunities that I do, who might not have the equal access to education, to culture, whatever that is, to jobs. So much compassion and so much willingness to create change. So I'm really, really interested in this kind of list of engaged young people that we've now built up, a community that we brought together. Not everybody could make it at the end of the day, whether that was because of connectivity or because of the sheer selection process itself. I'm really looking forward to it. 7 billion strong is a new platform that we've launched with Masterpiece to bring together different initiatives around the world by young people themselves at their local communities, as well as organizations, everyone, every single one who is doing something to make this world more sustainable, more inclusive, to allow for humanity to thrive, really. So that is one way to sort of inventorize, to collect all the action, the thoughts, the beautiful intentions around the world. Yeah, I'm really excited to see this moving forward, just the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. And just to add to that, like you said, this is just the beginning, and this was the kickoff event. And what we intend to do now is really go into this co-creative process with young people and establish youth hubs in sort of these 96 different cities, where we take the inspiration from the donut economics and the SDGs into and work with the young people to really see the changes that they're bringing already, but also amplifying them in order to reach the vision that they have communicated through this assembly. So I really invite everyone to join in, because there is, of course, we are all 7 billion strong, so everyone is welcome. And also, you can also join us on Ubiverse. There is on the Ubiverse platform, Peace Day 2020. And that's the platform that we are also using to engage with the participants and everyone who is sort of interested in knowing further what we are doing in the next steps. So welcome everyone, and yeah, looking forward to where we go from here. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Shweta, Maria, for those remarks. Emily, Julian, Aneshe, Ragda, Philip, what an inspiring day. Thank you so much. I know that there was a video of the highlights over the last weekend that we were hoping to share during this session. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to upload that to YouTube in time, but I did want to direct you, as Shweta mentioned, to the Peace Day 2020 group on the Ubiverse platform, where all of this work and the follow-up links will be published for your reference. And I also wanted to say, just to this community and these panelists here today, thank you so much for your work. It's really an honor to meet you. I feel like as young people growing up in today's day and age, this is the most important and challenging work that we're going to do in our lives. And it's not going to be easy. but getting together like this, meeting each other, seeing what we're all up to, supporting each other through the process is just critical, inspiring, and gives me energy as one of the conveners here to see everything that's going on. So I wanted to say both thank you to each and every one of you, and also thank you to all of our allies. Thank you to Jim and Sabina, Humanity Rising, City Transformers, Peace Weekend, Peace Day 2020, all of these groups out there that recognize the importance and the power of the youth and are helping to give us a platform to bring our ideas about the world that we want to live in to the forefront as part of the conversation. So on behalf of us, thank you to all of the allies out there. And at this point, I would like to hand it back over to Sabina and Jim. So thanks for a fantastic day, everyone. And Sabina, back over to you.
Thank you so much, Matt. And I really echo each and every word that you said that in the conclusion. And I really want to, you know, give out a virtual hug to each and every one of you who are part of this panel. I mean, I'm so touched, but also so proud to see such a palette of passionate, dedicated, knowledgeable, and compassionate and diverse selection of youth leaders. And also sort of the coherence that really comes across. You all came with different perspectives and different experiences, but it's this coherence that comes through. And that's also, you know, that force of nature and the coherence that you have of wanting to really build that future that is based on collaboration, and also the collaboration of youth and elders. It's so important that diversity is across all spectrums, because there's wisdom and there's new knowledge, and you know, it really is important to have that diversity. And also I enjoyed that you sort of framed it with a donut economy and really enlightened us with the powerful and comprehensive model for change and a thriving society and planet that the donut economy really can facilitate. And those 4 different corners of health, the healthy, connected, empowered, and enabled, that all of this sort of entails the roadmap going forward. I also, I think it was Matt who quoted one of you who said that, which I also resonated with, the faith that one feels in the notion that if one generation can seize all hostility, war, and violence, or at least as much as we can, there is hope for global peace. And there is hope for unity, and there is hope for a new narrative and a new world and a new path forward. And you all conveyed that hope and the tool sets, skill sets, and mindsets for this. And that is going to create ripples of impact. And yeah, it's truly encouraging to hear also that when you did this work, there was also a coherence and understanding of the interconnectedness that exists, and also the need for sustainable change. And we all know that changing mindsets, you know, that takes time. It takes time, but it does start. It is sparked by conversations, by authentic, open, diverse conversations and facilitation, allowing for different perspectives to surface and allowing us to feel the fear, the shame, the guilt, the compassion, the aspirations, and all of that together, and allowing for solutions to rise. So I just wanted to end with just one a little poem before I hand over to Jim that sort of ties it back to what we started with, that it all starts from within. And that is, if there is to be peace in the world, there must be peace in the nations. If there is to be peace in the nations, there must be peace in the cities. And if there is to be peace in the cities, there must be peace between neighbors. And if there is to be peace between neighbors, there must be peace in the homes. And if there is to be peace in the home, there must be peace in the heart. Jim, the word is yours.
Yes, Sabina, I think you just gave us the bottom line. Thank you so much. Thank you, panel, and Matt and Raji. You did a brilliant job moderating, and all of you contributing. And it just inspires me and makes my heart burst with joy. And brings to mind, you know, that revolution is the purview of the young. And to feel your ardent hearts and your clear vision and your passion for change, go for it, boy. Seize it. Seize it. Because you are the revolution. You carry the fire into the future. And I want to really honor you. And I want to end inspired by Sabina's a poem with just a gift from Rilke to each and every one of you. Short little poem he wrote. That time and time again in history, some special people wake up. They have no ground in the crowd. They move to broader laws. They carry strange customs with them and demand room for bold and audacious actions. The future speaks ruthlessly through them. They change the world. The future has been speaking ruthlessly through you over the last several days and months. And I'm honored that this started, as one of you reported, with a chat in our chat box during Humanity Rising. And so thank you. I honor the spirit. I honor all of you and wish you all the best. Humanity Rising is with you 100%. So anything you need, just be in touch with Matt and Raji and consider it done. Tomorrow, we're going to turn to Silicon Valley, which has been on the vanguard of development in technology, science, engineering for over 60 years. And we're going to take up a theme that probably many of you have not heard about. Green swans. We've all heard about black swans. Events like the financial meltdown of 2008, 9/11, the election of Donald Trump. Events that no one saw coming. But when they emerge, everybody looks back and says, oh yeah, that makes complete sense. Well, tomorrow we're going to talk about green swans. We're going to talk about these incredibly potent eruptions of ecological justice. Companies that are solving global problems that emerge literally out of nowhere and seize the market. Green swans. Tomorrow, same time, same station, 5 o'clock CET to 6:30 ET here on Zoom. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
And congratulations, really, congratulations. Great session, great session.